The reason we didn't sign is we really don't want the line to come through our property.
Martha Ann Johnson is clear about one thing. She's tired of losing land to the state of South Carolina.
Santee Cooper is through 3 of our farms now.
She has seen the plans for the Santee Cooper transmission line connecting Marion and Red Bluff, and she knows the route chosen will cut this piece of land nearly in half.
We're farmers, this is the way we make our living.
Johnson didn't sign to allow Santee Cooper to survey the land, so she ended up on this list. The names in red are property owners Santee Cooper took to court. A judge signed this order allowing the power company to survey and appraise, and he signed it ex parte, meaning just one party was there. Santee Cooper was represented. The landowners didn't even know the hearing was happening.
The statute says the condonor must give the landowner reasonable notice of what they intend to do.
That's State Representative Jeff Johnson, no relation to Martha Ann Johnson. He was born and raised in Conway, and now he represents these landowners of District 58.
I can't speak for a public utility, but my understanding of the statute, the reasoning is that the landowner already has notice of what's going on, already sent letters, may have gone out there and spoken to them.
Representative Johnson says the purpose of an order like this one is to get a project moving, avoiding getting held up in court. And Santee Cooper says it did its part. The utility did not grant an on-camera interview because of the threat of legal action from at least one landowner. We did get our questions answered, though. When property owners refuse to grant access, state law allows an ex parte request for entry to be made to the court. This request to the court is used as a last resort. While Santee Cooper followed the law, Representative Johnson says the process could have still involved the landowners.
It may be a quick hearing, but they'll have the opportunity to be there and be heard, which they haven't had that so far.
It would not have been any better, but it would have made me less angry.
Carolyn Gobble's land is about 9 miles from Martha Ann Johnson's. It also sits on the proposed route for the transmission line. She refused to sign a survey permit as well.
You think you own something, you take care of it, you think it's yours, but it's not. Because some large company can come in because of their convenience, because it is convenient to them, and they can take your property and do what they will.
Carolyn wants the judge to see it from her perspective. She says this isn't just an issue rural farmers face.
I would say, would you sign the order for him to go through your property? Would you sign the order for that? Or does this not concern you and you only see one side and this does not concern you or your family?
I would tell him that I think we should have more of a say, that he should know, the judge should know the whole story before he makes a decision.
While it's a difficult pill to swallow for some of the landowners, Representative Johnson says he understands its necessity.
But until they can go on to the property, they're merely looking at aerial maps. And when you actually walk property, sometimes it's different than it looks like on the aerial view.
Martha Ann Johnson walks her property, even if she's not the one farming it anymore. She says she'd have some questions for anyone she saw on the land without her permission.
I realize they've gone to court and have the court order and that he would have the right to be here, but I would most probably want to talk with him. The only problem is the people that would be out here doing the survey would not be the ones who would be able to make any changes. So there would be no reason to really be upset with him. He would just be doing his job.
If you're not paying attention, you'll drive right under them. And you could say the same about driving past this land. The beginning of the Marion to Red Bluff line will go right through the middle of Walden Graham's land.
We think that Santee Cooper ought to come in here and tell us what they propose, and let's compromise on, if the route's got to go through, let's compromise so it'll do the least damage to all of us.
Santee Cooper chose this route over 4 others. A spokeswoman for the company told us, after the beginning and end points of a new line are determined, several routes to connect these known points are selected and evaluated. We weren't granted an on-camera interview because at least one landowner is threatening legal action.
First, I hope Santee Cooper takes a route that has the least amount of impact to the landowner.
According to a cost analysis obtained by WMBF News, the route chosen affects 97 parcels of land. The other 4 routes are shorter and go through fewer parcels. The route chosen was Santee Cooper's cheapest option. Some of the landowners in the middle of the proposed line think Santee Cooper is taking the easy way out.
I mean, this is already cleared, you know, so there's not going to be a whole lot of cost putting a line through here. Or if you went through some wooded land, less productive land, there would be more cost. So even if it costs more and the electricity had to go up a little bit, it would actually be fairer.
As frustrating is their unwillingness to budge, their unwillingness to move.
But WMBF News obtained hundreds of pages of emails from the Santee Cooper team working on this project, and some of them show a clear willingness to work with affected landowners, like this one from January of 2016, where Timber Vest Partners was discussed. The attached pictures show the route clearly shift to be along property lines. And this one from September, showing the signed survey permit from Carolyn Stevens and her family, saying Mr. Stevens accepted the route following his property line to the north in pink. Other emails tell a different story. This one from June about Miriam Carroll, the landowner who first came to WMBF News about the proposed line, shows one employee did not feel it is appropriate to move the route and increase the easement acreage required on a neighboring landowner. We asked Santee Cooper why a shift wasn't made in her case. The company said if a landowner wants a line moved off her property, she must seek and gain the consent of the newly impacted landowner. Consent of the newly impacted landowner was never gained, was never communicated to Santee Cooper. Here's another email about Carolyn Gobble, who you heard from earlier. One Santee Cooper employee says he can live with some more adjustments to the route, but that is quickly addressed by Teresa Hensley with Transmission Line Design. I have been adamant we treat everyone the same. I cannot do for one what I am not willing to do for all, as that is not ethical. We have worked with those willing to work with us. The Gobbles have not been willing to work with us to identify a win-win solution.
First of all, I don't want to sell it. I don't want you to take it, and you're affecting the rest of the property 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Martha Ann Johnson's land isn't discussed in the emails.
I would love for them to do one of those other 5 routes.
But she does hope Santee Cooper will agree to move closer to the property line.
Yes, that would definitely be better. Of course, we'd prefer it not to come at all, but yes, it would definitely be better. My past experience, though, has been that it will probably happen.
Santee Cooper says it understands this can be a confusing process. We work closely with property owners in any transmission project, and we always prefer direct communication. It says it has the goal of providing low-cost, reliable power to our customers.
If this is something that is going to make the community better, it's necessary. Because everybody likes electricity. I like it.
When you ask a question about land in this area, the answer is usually about people. For Walden Graham, it's about his dad.
He was a pioneer in farming. In fact, I'm 83 years old, but I remember plowing an ox, pulling a plow.
My parents preserved this for us, and I would like to preserve it for our children.
From my earliest remembrances, this has been a part of my family. And it's not just something we owned. I've worked this land.
Martha Ann Johnson owns one of the 97 parcels of land that would see some kind of impact from Santee Cooper's Marion to Red Bluff project.
This is our life. When I was a little girl, this entire field, that field and this field, was all woods. Over 200 acres of trees, beautiful, huge pine trees. When my daddy dug all these ditches that are now have trees on them, but they were just big piles of dirt. And I can remember as a child playing on those dirt when I was real little, and he'd be farming with a mule.
Her fondness goes beyond childhood memories. She helped her father put in the work to make this land what it is today.
My husband would say, "You can't drive a straight road, can you?" I learned to look down. If I was going this way and the roads always go this way, I would pick a tree and just keep my eye on that tree or that bush or something and head straight for that. So I finally learned that I could keep the roads fairly straight, unless it really windy and there was a lot of dust, and then you couldn't see.
A farmer's value for his property is paramount to a farmer, because that is how he makes his living, or she makes her living.
As we wouldn't depend on anyone, we knew how to work.
Graham says the land made him who he is today, and Carolyn Gobble feels the same way.
There's not an inch on this farm that I have not been on, that I have not lived on. There's not an inch on this farm that my family has not lived on, been on, worked on. This is what I want to preserve. This is what I want to preserve.
And if this concept seems foreign to you, think about it a different way.
Other people like to play golf. We like to look at open spaces and land. It's just something we love, and it's just something peaceful about it.